Topping today's news, Bahamians protest at the Bahamian Consulate in Miami after they were prevented from protesting at CARICOM here in the Bahamas. The government endorsing the use of bush medicines to treat communicable diseases. Police take more guns off the streets. And the Carifta trials, along with the National High School Championships, set for this weekend. This is your Jcn Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us. A protest by a group of Bahamians outside the Bahamas Consulate office in Miami, Florida, did not thwart the work of consulate employees. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in a statement on Thursday evening that the consulate remained open. The statement followed the Coalition of Independence leader Lincoln Bain, along with a group of supporters who stood with duct tapes over their mouths in protest for approximately 2 hours outside the consulate office. Mr. Bain, who streamed the protest live on his social media pages, said the group was protesting because the Bahamas is under invasion, particularly when it comes to illegal migrants, as well as inhumane treatment of Bahamians by the government. You may remember Mr. Bain and supporters were prohibited from protesting during the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting here in New Providence in February. During the attempt to stage what Mr. Bain called a peaceful protest, he was taken into custody by police, which he described as unlawful. Foreign Affairs officials, however, contend that every Bahamian citizen has the right to demonstrate in the Bahamas, adding that the group was therefore operating on a false premise and misrepresenting Bahamian law. Well, during a town hall meeting in Miami last night, Mr. Bain reaffirmed that it is not the fact that Bahamians do not have a right to protest, noting that the protest in Miami was not about not being able to protest, but the unfair treatment of Bahamians by the Davis administration who do try to protest. Foreign Affairs, in its statement, noted that the protest during CARICOM's meeting was stalked by police as several figures who were arrested within the precincts of the conference were taken into custody because they had breached the security cordon of the meeting. Add to that, the facts are that under an assumed name, an individual connected to the Miami demonstrators, believed to be Mr. Bain, who the statement says is known to the police to be a security threat, checked into the hotel where the conference was about to take place, where several heads of government were staying, including the Haitian Prime Minister. That individual, the statement says, had earlier published a video in which he fired an assault weapon while threatening Haitians. Mr. Bain has gone on record to say that the weapon was licensed and he was not threatening to kill Haitians. Following a national study, the Minister of Health and Wellness expressed concerns about the overall health or lack of health among Bahamian citizens. In this next report, we hear what role traditional medicines or bush medicines and new legislation to reduce importations of healthy foods can play in the reversal of our poor national health status. While revealing during a communication in the House of Assembly on Wednesday some of the findings from the National Non-Communicable Diseases Risk Factor Survey, the Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Dovell, and by extension the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the government is seemingly endorsing the use of traditional bush medicines to help treat some of the communicable diseases being diagnosed.
This survey revealed that more than 10% of persons with hypertension, diabetes, or both at one point in time in their life sought advice from a traditional healer, with as much as 20% taking herbal and alternative treatments. My ministry will revisit plans to establish an indigenous medicines desk to ensure for the use of bush medicines and other treatments as they need to be regulated and introduced safely and in a proven manner into our community.
In the past, traditional medicines have been overlooked and replaced with pharmaceuticals and over-the-counter medications. But in recent times, traditional bush medicines, along with eating healthier foods, have made a resurgence. Meanwhile, the health minister also shared plans to introduce new legislation seeking to reduce the importation of unhealthy foods, alcohol, and smoking products.
As Minister of Health and Wellness, and with the support of cabinet colleagues, I also intend to bring to this honorable House new legislation and regulations aimed at reducing the importation of industrial-produced trans fatty acids, known to be one of the key factors for cardiovascular disease. I also intend to put policies in place to reduce the consumption of salt, sugar, alcohol, and tobacco throughout the length of the Bahamas.
The national health study was conducted between January and April 2019 and included 2,365 people ages 18 to 69 years old. Dr. Dowell says, although startling, the report did not reveal anything new, but has helped to quantify the factors that contribute to our poor health status. He says all is not lost, but there needs to be combined efforts to get the nation back on a healthy track.
My ministry plans are very comprehensive, but we cannot do it alone. Changing course will require all hands on deck. Our approach must be multi-ministerial, and I thank the Prime Minister and my cabinet colleagues for their unwavering support. Therefore, I'm calling on all agencies within my ministry, all government ministries and departments, the private sector, civil society, faith-based organization, and every citizen in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas to join hands, heads, and hearts now for health. There's much work to be done. Madam Speaker, I end my communication as I started with optimism that at all levels of society we must work together to coordinate, collaborate, and calibrate our efforts in the pursuit to live longer, healthier, and more productive lives in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Thank you.
Titan Hospitality Limited held a job fair on Thursday with the hopes of adding talent to its chain of restaurants. The group is looking to fill positions at its restaurants, including Smugglers, Mezzi Grill, Pizza Lab, and Swimming Pigs, among other restaurants. According to one of the company's restaurant managers, Michael Miller, they set out to accommodate up to 1,000 applicants. He says it is all in an effort to give as many people a fair chance at employment.
Well, this morning is pretty much a way for us to really connect with the Bahamian people by hiring and giving people opportunities that is most needed in this country right now. Well, we believe in everyone having a fair shake. So what we do is a process, and then once we do the process, we have people from the administrative team that looks over everything, and then that's where we do a second interview. This is just a preliminary interview to see if you're qualified for the second interview.
The event was held poolside at Latitude's restaurant on East Bay Street. The Department of Labor was also on hand to assist with the exercise. Representative from the department, Kiara Kiki Varakis, giving details on their involvement and an update on previous job fairs.
So we're assisting Titan Hospitality today, making that process smoother where we're registering the candidates and putting them into the database to try to get persons assisting with Titan. So we would have just had a job fair in March 4th. We would have had a Carmichael job fair at Flamingo Gardens Park, where we would have had over 30 companies come out to assist persons in filling their vacancies. So we've had over 500 applicants that came out to that job fair, and we're just still in the process of gathering data from the employers, trying to get feedback of how much persons was
JCN's news team had an opportunity to speak with one of the applicants who says she is no stranger to job fairs. Karen Knowles, an aspiring cook, attended several recent job fairs but has yet to find employment.
I've been to, this is my third job fair. I've been to Bahamas. I've been to, but hopefully I get through in this one, because I've been looking. What happened? I've been trying to get something in cooking, but I haven't been successful. Because we have a lot of competitive people with experience. We have a lot of trained people, and they're still looking for jobs. A lot of people who are over experienced, and they're looking for jobs now. So I'm not considering myself not finding a job. I'm finding the most successful people, they get it.
The Department of Labor will host another job fair this Saturday, March 25th at the Department of Labor, as well as one on Saturday, April 1st in the Freetown community. They are seeking to employ, or those seeking employment rather, you're asked to bring the necessary documents, including passports, NIB cards, and their police records, along with a few references as well. A 30-year-old male of Sampson Street, Nassau Village is in police custody after he was allegedly found in possession of an illegal firearm as well as ammunition on Thursday shortly before 7 p.m., according to police reports. Officers attached to the Anti-Gang and Firearms Unit acting on intelligence executed a search warrant on the man's residence where they discovered the unlicensed firearm along with a quantity of ammunition. He was arrested as investigations continue into this matter. In news from the Magistrates Court on Grand Bahama on Thursday, 25-year-old Lloyd Roll Jr. pleaded not guilty to possession of an unlicensed firearm and possession of ammunition. His appearance before a magistrate came after officers attached to the Anti-Gang and Firearms Unit on Tuesday, March 21st, shortly after 11 p.m., acting on information, went to a business establishment on East Atlantic Drive. While there, the officers searched a male dressed in dark clothing. Subsequently, a pistol containing 8 live rounds of ammunition was discovered. Roll Jr. pleaded not guilty to the charges, and bail was granted in the amount of $5,000 with one suretor. The matter was adjourned until the 13th of June, 2023. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, during a joint press conference while Prime Minister Philip Davis was at the police headquarters, Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernando revealed that police have seized 74 firearms so far for 2023, while some 400 firearms were seized in 2022. He credits the seizures to heightened police patrols. Almost 92% of serious crimes here in the Bahamas are committed with firearms. Also, the Bahamas has joined a $10 billion lawsuit brought against 7 major U.S. gun manufacturers and 1 gun wholesaler and distributor by Mexico, who wants them to be held accountable for the trafficking of firearms throughout our region. And finally, in this segment, memorials continue as Bahamians across the country mourn the loss of the late veteran broadcaster and distinguished diplomat, Eldred Ed Bethel. Family and friends gathered at the St. Mary the Virgin Anglican Church, and reminiscing on moments spent together was the granddaughter of Mr. Bethel, who shared fond memories of the man they called Papa. Celia Bellet recited a poem entitled The Game Guy, requested by her papa in preparation of his final arrangements.
Help me to be a sport in the little game of life. I don't ask for any place in the world. Play me anywhere. I only ask for the stuff to be 100% of what I've got. If all the hard drives come my way, I thank you for the confidence. Help me to remember that you will ever let anything come my way that you and I together can handle. And help me to see the bad right as part of the game. Help me to understand that things full of knots and not trouble, and make me thankful. Help me to be brave so that when they come, better I like it. And oh God, help me to always stay on this path. No matter what the other players do, help me to help me to study the book so that I'll know the rules and study it in lives as players and the other players.
Those who knew Mr. Bethel say he was a walking, talking encyclopedia and had an elegant style, grace, and intellect about him, in addition to his unique broadcasting talents. During a memorial service held on Wednesday evening, hosted by members of the Lunch Brunch, former General Manager of the Broadcasting Corporation, Luis Henschel, reflected on the contributions Mr. Bethel made to broadcasting.
Eddie was on a mission. Early on, he understood the assignment to educate and inform the Bahamian people at a time when the winds of change were at its highest. A time when expatriate mid-Atlantic voices were recruited as announcers, and when expatriates held the top positions in every department of ZNS. Eddie boldly and fearlessly crafted stories that made Bahamians more aware of the changing social order, ideals, and the promise of Bahamianization. And when he spoke, people listened and benefited from his presentations.
Mr. Bethel died peacefully at home at the age of 82 with his wife Dawn and sister Annette by his side. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.